X-Men 97. Wow. Where do we begin? What a fantastic ending. Hey, my name is AK. Welcome to the Popcorn Perspective. Today we're going to go over the recent Disney Plus TV show X-Men 97. This show is a continuation of the original X-Men animated series back in the 90s. And as someone new to the series, someone who doesn't have much information or much backing or knowledge of the previous TV show, I was thoroughly impressed. It definitely hyped me up for whatever or what potential future the X Men may hold within the MCU and Disney. And definitely rejuvenated my love for Marvel and rejuvenated my anticipation or my appreciation for what MCU is doing currently. I know that's a touchy subject. I know Disney, via the MCU, has had a minor setback over the last couple of years, but I do believe that we're slowly righting the wrong and we're getting to where we should have been. But I do want to just go over some of the questions that the show as a whole presented itself to. The three questions I wanted to address was 97 a hit? Is this what Disney wanted? Is this what Disney anticipated? Um, where do we go from here regarding the TV show? We were left on a fantastic cliffhanger at the end of season one, the final arc, Talon's extinction. And there's so many ways or so many options that the show can go past there. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to take place. So I'm going to aircraft a little bit on that. And then my third question that I'm going to just dive into slightly is: does the show put faith that Disney is going to do X Men correctly, or does the show give us some thought or give us some hesitation on what Disney can potentially do with these characters and this universe? Um, so let's start with question one. Is the show a success? Was the show what Disney wanted? Is the show bringing in new fans? Um, I think easily the answer to that is a yes. Obviously, if you just click in X Men '97 on Google search, you can see immediately that Rotten Tomatoes has an audience score of 94% with over 500 current viewers and reviewers, and critic scores of 99%. How often do you see both critics and audience aligning over 90% when it comes to a TV show or movie nowadays, especially on Rotten Tomato? So I think right then, they alone is a win. Obviously, 500 viewers is not really indicative of the entire fan base or viewership. But I definitely do think it is a good enough win in the eyes of Disney's and the Disney's executives. Now, I do know season two has already been greenlit, but I'm more or less just looking onto future seasons. Is this going to be a long-lasting moneymaker of Disney? Is Disney going to pull the plug after season two? We do know that the showrunner Peter DeMaio, he wrote season one and season two, but was unfortunately fired from Disney before season one even premiered. Now, I do know some of the current showrunners and writers of the season two has confirmed that they are taking into consideration what Bierdemeyer has already written and where he plans each story arc to end up going. So that's a good sign for season two. But since he is unfortunately no longer with the show, will season three, season four, potentially season five suffer without the hands-on effort from Bierdemeyer? That's to be seen. Now, according to Variety.com, though, X-Men 97 was the third highest viewed show on Disney Plus since the beginning of the year to the end of the season. I think it was up to May 13th. Um, third highest show, right behind shows like a live action TV show, Percy Jackson. And I do believe that's a great sign for an animated show to be the third highest viewed TV show within Disney. Now, the reason why I say that is anime shows generally do not get the audiences that live action shows normally get, due to live action shows generally being easily digestible versus animated, they can extend the laws of reality, and some people don't like that. So that alone right there is an amazing fact that this is the third highest show, beating out a show like Bad Batch, Star Wars series finale. The last season of Bad Batch will end this year, and has been viewed more than that. So I definitely think that is a fantastic sign. I do believe around 6.8% of all view counts on Disney via the TV shows went to X Men 97. I do think that is a win, personally speaking. Also, it came right behind Percy Jackson and Echo, and those two were taking about 23 and 11% respectively. So 6.87% viewership went to an animated show. I think that is a huge win for X Men, and I do think Disney is looking at that and is happy where things have gone. Um, gotta give you a little shameless plug though, because I mentioned Bad Batch. I do have my series review and a few episode reviews listed throughout our channel. Definitely go check them out. If you are a fan of the show, let me know if you didn't like it. Let me know if it works for you. But back onto the main page. Back to question two. Where does this show go from here? So, season one ends with the team being split. Now we stopped Bastion from a Sentinel mutant program where he was injecting humans with the Sentinel mutation, so they can overtake the mutants and the evolution spectrum and basically take over the world and stop mutants from ever becoming the majority species. So we do see Bastion being destroyed, and we do show them while on Asteroid M. A white flash happens as Asteroid M is hurling towards Earth, potentially causing an apocalyptic. Remember that word, apocalypse, apocalyptic endgame for Earth and humanity. And a white flash happens, and all Asteroid M, the mutants, are all disappeared. And we follow a handful of the mutants while they are in the past. And where they are in this past is Egypt, with Apocalypse in control. And then we show a little bit of the future, where two other X-Men were also vanished too, Jean Grey and Cyclops. And it is nice to see that the husband and wife, the ones who had a very bumpy relationship throughout this season, at least are together for this. And they do see in the future baby Nathan. This Nathan is maybe about 10 to 15 years old. So a lot younger than Cable, who they just finished working with in this season, but still a lot older than the baby Nathan they sent to the future. Where's Cable in this? And I apologize. Where is and while we see Nathan Summers, Cable, the older teenage Nathan, we do see pyramids around them, and we do show that this is a very destroyed society. That this could be taking place what after Genosha and what Cable warned the X Men about in the season one show, where he said that after Genosha happened, the Sentinel Mutant program took off without a hitch and would had basically unlimited funding, which caused the mutated humans and caused the destruction of all mutants on Earth. So it could be playing into that Bastion is not done with his goals, but the fact that you do see a few pyramids in the background, and we do know that the other half of the X Men are now in the past with Apocalypse. I think it has to do with Apocalypse is working on both angles, the future and the past, in order to take over his present. And that's when we get to the present. In good old Disney fashion, MCU old fashioned stuff, we get a post credit scene where something is wandering around the destruction of Genosha and walks near a pile of dead bodies with a playing card on the ground. Obviously, that's hinting to Gambit. Is Gambit going to be the personification of death? One of Apocalypse's Horsemans? I mean, he was in the comics. And God, if that is the case, just imagine Rogue's face when she sees Gambit being death. Oh, it's gonna break her. I do think that's where they're going. I do think the big main overarching villain of the next season, like this season was Bastion and Sinister. I do think it's Apocalypse and Bastion. I don't think Bastion's out of the picture. Should I neutralize them this season? But it's X Men. From the little bit I know from the original shows, a lot of the characters came back and came like Apocalypse was a big villain in the original animated series, but I do think he's playing something. And I do think Bastards alongside with them. And I cannot wait to see what the past, present, and future fight is going to be. And I love the idea that we will be flashing between all these timelines. The present mess where the last couple of mutants are trying to pull together whatever hope they can. We had the future Cyclops and Jean Grey who are trying to potentially integrate themselves with the future society while also trying to find a way to come back home. And then we had the past who would now have to deal with Apocalypse. Also, we had the question of Wolverine. What happens and where is he? Is he going to go for his whole? Is he going to go for the bone claws? We know the adamantium was whipped and stripped away from his body through Magneto in episode 9. Is Wolverine going to be? He's going to be wielding his bone claws, and what is his role, or what is the purpose of all of that going to take? Is he going to be failed Wolverine, as in the comics? We didn't see him on any timeline yet, so he could be either present, future, or past. Very curious on where he's going to end up. Um, and like I said, fantastic way to end this season. Definitely had me on my toes, and I was yelling at my TV when it ended. Disney, keep doing this, please. And that takes me to the third question: is X Men in good hands with Disney? Are the mutants families and the Brotherhood of Mutants and all the villains and all the overarching political arcs, is it in good hands with Disney? Or is this success due to the fact that this is based on an established 90s animated series using nostalgia to garner the audiences? Yes and no. Obviously, this was a nostalgic pull. I don't think Marvel could have done an animated TV show without anyone ever comparing it to the original animated series. So using the old animated series to basically jumpstart the new generation of X Men, very smart. You use a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of creativity, and the thing that you had to have nailed was the writing. It Y'all nailed it. The writing of the show was fantastic. There was a couple of lull episodes here and there. I wasn't a big fan of the Nintendo episode. Yeah, but overall, fantastic. Um, but back to the main part. I said this earlier. It's easier to do stuff like this when it's animated. Flashback, time travel, um, amazing mutated fights. It's harder to do that in live action. Expensive to do that in live action. I do think the original Fox movies did a decent job at doing so, but it did not really dive into the other mutants. They focused on like three of the X Men's and like two villains at the whole show. We had Magneto, and we had Misty, and we had X, and Wolverine, and Cyclops, and the rest were not Cyclops, Jean Grey, while the rest were basically B, C, and D characters. And it's hard to do with an ensemble of cast. You have hundreds of different X Men you can work from, mutants that you can work from. Do I think Disney is going to be able to succeed, or is Disney going to just focus on animated and potentially never bring in the overarching mutants? Obviously, that's not going to happen. You're not going to buy Fox, buy the X Men, and never do anything with them. Hell, we've had weapons of the mutants already since Miss Marvel, then the Marvels. So and then obviously Deadpool and Wolverine coming out this July or June. So we do have already mutants sparkling within the MCU, but will it work? And does this show give me faith? It does. Let me explain that. So Kevin Feige, He got his big start as a producer for the first X-Men film in 2000. He was the only one who allowed comic books inside the studio where he allowed Hugh Jackman to read it because it was notoriously banned. For some reason, the director of the first X-Men movie, Bryan Singer, did not like the idea of comic books being read because he found them to be campy and unrealistic, and he wanted to ground the characters, which I think he did a good job at doing. But remember, Kevin Feige was different day one, and he was the one who allowed Hugh Jackman to read and understand the character of Wolverine. Feige knows and loves and understands the characters. Hell, I think he came out and said that he X Men is his favorite group of comics. I think the reason why it's been 5 years since the acquisition of Fox and we've yet to see an X Men movie be greenlit is I do think Feige is putting all of his time, effort, and resources on making sure that and Fantastic Four are not a blunder. I think he realizes the amount of money Disney spent, the amount of audience fatigue is going on with the MCU, that these two projects, Fantastic Four and whatever X Men movie or show they end up doing live action wise, has to nail it on the head. The writing, the characters, the story has to be a 10 out of 10. And if it's not, I do feel like Disney or Marvel is going to scramble to the point of no recovery and end up doing what unfortunately DCEU did. Uh, Too many greenlit movies with no real connection or continuity, where it just ends up faltering into nothingness. And I do think Kevin understands that. I do think Mr. Feige understands that this is the biggest priority for the succession of the future MCU projects. Um, Now, how do I think they're going to appear? I do think, because we do know with this show, we did see the Watcher previously in this show watching this evidence, the destruction of Genosha play out. So we do know the Watcher, i.e., from What If, is canon in this. So this show is canonized within the overarching Marvel timelines, which is interesting. Will we get these characters live action variants in a potential Secret Wars movie where they're playing their characters but in live action, or will we actually have an animated live action grouping? I think that would be hard to pull for the audiences, the casual normie audiences, but I, for one, would think it's badass if we can get like a live action, like say Tom Holland playing right alongside the animated Logan Wolverine. Imagine if you have Hugh Jackman Wolverine fighting right next to the animated Wolverine, and they're having a talk. They communicate. I think that would be fucking amazing, and I want them to do that as long as it is not to ruin what 97 has established and the original show has established. Um, so I think that was my just quick thoughts based on the season as a whole. You know, quick spoiler review slash anticipation on the future of MCU and and the mutants itself. I do think they nailed the show. It's a show that kept giving. Each episode was better than the last, and it shows the audience. It didn't like hold our hands and break things down. It expected us to just follow along the story and not ask questions, and that's what it did perfectly. Disney and Kevin are not done with MCU. I do believe they're just now getting started. I'm super excited for the next season, and I hope the numbers are just as good in season two, if not better in season three and four. Why? It's gonna be kind of hard because, like I said earlier, Beard Meyer is no longer with the show, and he went up to season two. We don't know how season three and season four is going to happen, if it happens. So I'm hoping season two is better, and the view count just keeps exploding. Overall, with the last act of season one, Tolerance's Extinction, it rejuvenated my love for the X Men and the mutants as a whole. I was getting kind of bored of them with the Fox universe. You know, I love the first two movies. I love Days of Future Past and First Class, but then you had Apocalypse. You had New Mutants and whatever uh, that shitty Phoenix third movie that it made, it was just getting boring and bad. This last season arc, Television's Extinction, showed me what the X Men can truly be. I'm super hyped to come what comes next for our heroes, and looking forward to the next season of the show. I'll leave you with one sad thought: Magneto was right. Well, that's all I have for you guys. Oh yes, my popcorn meter. Where does this rank on the popcorn meter? If you're new here, the popcorn perspective, we have three rankings when it comes to any movies or shows that we review. The shittiest, crappiest, don't even watch the movies, i.e., Mountain Rub, is burnt, stale popcorn. You ever like burnt popcorn and the bag is smoky? You take a bite of it and it's also just like rubbery tasting and just tastes like burnt shit. Well, that's Madame Rub. Um, and then we have, home cooked popcorn. It's not the same. It's not as buttery and as flavorful, but it hits right once in a while. This show is a theater popped popcorn with all the buttery, salty deliciousness, all the toppings. You want the jalapeno cheddar. You want a little bit of that little bit of that butter. If you want a little bit more of the salt, popcorn salt, we got it for you. This show has everything. This show is a five-course meal. A must watch. Um, please stay tuned for the future Popcorn Perspective episodes. Me and my host Jay, we're actually going to be reviewing Deadpool, going over what we think Deadpool Wolverine cameos are going to be and what we think the future X Men characters will be casted with. Well, that's all I have for y'all. Love you guys. Like I said, Magneto is right. Thanks. Like, comment, and subscribe. And please help this community grow. Here at the Pokemon Perspective, we're aiming for 50 subscribers by the end of the year. I think with you guys, we can do it. Thank y'all.